So, welcome to part 3 of my total Jurassic World Evolution review, where I'm going to be going over the whole game with a fine-tooth comb to figure out what my final view is on Jurassic World Evolution. Don't forget to watch my other parts first, and also comment and subscribe for further content from Triple Gaming. Now today, we're going to move away from the campaign mode and the basics of the game, and study the two additional gameplay modes that Jurassic World Evolution offered, Sandbox mode and Challenge mode. And in regards to Challenge mode, I'm also going to think about what can be done in Jurassic World Evolution 2 to improve it. Sandbox is a staple of any building game. Simply put, it allows you to build without the game's gameplay limitations. Usually that means things along the lines of unlimited money, turning off negative events and disasters, and unlocking all the content for you to mess around with. It's a good way of developing your own style, learning the game mechanics, and showing your creative flair. When Jurassic World Evolution came out, we didn't have a fully fledged sandbox mode. The only thing we did have was the Isla Nublar sandbox map, which we could use. None of the other island maps were usable in the mode. This was not fixed until update 1.10. That came a year after the game's release. It was only then that we had the ability to use the other island spaces to make sandbox parks, and when we got more sandbox park options such as weather control and day-night control. In sandbox mode, you can build on any of the island locations from the base game or the DLCs that you have installed. You can select to either start a sort of standardized game mode or a completely creative mode, and you have a number of options that you can select in sandbox mode to enhance the gameplay and give you more or less of a challenge or particular scenarios that you might want to try out. Each sandbox save is a unique file, so you can have as many sandbox saves as you like. Sounds great, right? Well, there is a bit of a catch, and it's a pretty big one. In fact, if this catch were a building, it would be a 20-story tall building with fitted carpets throughout, an excessive marble entrance hall, and a huge neon sign on top of the roof saying this is a big catch. You can only build on islands you unlock in the campaign. You may only build with things you have researched and unlocked in the campaign, and you can only use the dinosaurs found and DNA harvested in the same campaign mode. So, click Sandbox at the start of owning the game, and you will have little, if anything, to use. I fear this is a problem. Locking a full-on sandbox experience behind the campaign means that players are forced to play the campaign, which we've already discussed in part 2 is a tedious and frustrating experience. It won't lead to people being eager to play the game any further. In fact, I think it builds resentment in the game and makes people less likely to continue with it. More still, the average time to complete just the main storyline in campaign is estimated by some websites at about 25 hours, but it could be as high as 40 hours if you want to complete all the side options. That's 25 hours of gameplay at least before you can actually have a fully fledged sandbox mode. Compare this to City Skylines, where you can have a full sandbox experience right from the start. Who at Frontier believed this was a good idea? Sealing what is a standardized game mode behind a 25-hour-long campaign. A campaign that isn't even any good! Who thought this was a good idea? Was it designed to give us players a sense of pride and accomplishment, to use EA's infamous quote here? That being said, Sandbox mode nowadays is actually one of the few reasons to continue playing Jurassic World Evolution. Thanks to modders and the tireless work of people like myself for Evolution Square who squeeze the game for every ounce of creativity, Sandbox mode can nowadays be actually quite a good relaxing game mode. And at least these days we can have no refill feeders, which we never had on day one. But I don't blame people for not bothering when it's locked behind a 25-hour-long, hideously tedious campaign. It's holding the sandbox mode to ransom. The fact it also took over a year for us to get a proper sandbox mode is also pretty annoying, and demonstrates that Frontier didn't know or ignored the main reason why people play simulation and park building games in the first place. We don't play any of these games for usually what are their lackluster narratives, if they even have one. It's usually because we want to create the city of our dreams. the zoo of our dreams, the park of our dreams. But Sandbox mode is at least fun and entertaining enough these days. So let's look at something that isn't. There was another mode added to the game in update 1.4, which came months after the initial release. It was called Challenge Mode, or as I like to call it, a complete waste of king time. Challenge Mode. There hasn't been a better use of Ian Malcolm's infamous Jurassic Park quote than to describe this game mode. But let's start with the premise. You select your island, and you then select your difficulty. Difficulty is based on how much cash you have on the start, how much cash gets removed from you by the so-called Hammond Foundation each month, and how often your island will suffer from a disaster. You're then tasked with building a 5-star park under the circumstances, and once you hit the 5 stars, you're awarded a dinosaur skin, and if you complete the maximum difficulty for each island, then you earn another skin. There's a par time for you to do it in, but that's only for bragging rights, and it doesn't interfere. And what do I think of this game mode? Invite me to pick between playing challenge mode or having my head stapled to a piece of wood by my ears with a croquet hoop, and I'd give you the hammer myself. The issue, essentially, is that challenge mode is exactly the same no matter what island. The challenge is you have to build a park, with the same problems that park building in the base game has, but under increasingly strict money requirements. In Jurassic difficulty mode, the amount of money that you lose is a huge amount of your income. So think about playing the game's campaign, but you have barely ever any cash, your dinosaurs persistently stress out or get sick, and the game throws ever-increasing volumes of storms at you. Now add the fact you have to redo all of your research from the start. Oh, yes, they hid that one from you, didn't they? Yes, you have to redo all your research from the start. That means all your dinosaur digging, all your building research, all of the gene research, all of the medical research, everything. Oh, and you still have those 3 bloody divisions to look after, or they'll go making your life a misery as well. And you have to do this for every single map. That's right, not only do you have to redo all of your research over and over again, but you have to do it for every single campaign map you start. So what we have here is the worst aspects of the campaign mode boiled down with added frustrations and annoyance. It's like going to the cinema and find out they're only playing the Disney Star Wars sequels over and over again for the next 6 months. Let me give you my experience of one attempt at Jurassic difficulty mode on Isla Matanceros. In the 8 hours I played this mode for, I just about managed to get to 2.5 stars. Only through challenge mode can you have a more boring, more tedious, and more frustrating experience than watching paint dry. And at least at the end of it, you have a nice wall. Hell, if you did 8 hours of work at a minimum wage, you'd at least earn a stack of cash. Challenge mode gives you nothing but a very substandard skin. I mean, look at these. This is what you get for your time and your effort. A bunch of frankly crap skins. Not one of them, I would argue, is worth it. Now, some of you may turn around and say I'm clearly not very good at challenge mode and that's why I didn't enjoy it. Well, no, I'm probably not very good at the mode. But then, with other games, there's always a drive to get better. Challenge mode in this game is so bloody unrewarding. All you get are a couple of skins. And of those challenge mode skins in total, I don't think any of them, bar perhaps the Spinoraptor skin, is worth having. The rest are either slightly darker or slightly lighter versions of skins already available to you, and some of them are just straight up insulting. It's just not worth the effort. Let's compare challenge mode in this game to the challenges and exercises of Jurassic Park Operation Genesis, shall we? There were actually individual, unique gameplay scenarios where you had to complete a unique challenge. There were some based around building parks in difficult conditions, yes, or using certain dinosaurs, yes, but there were challenges based around taking photographs with the Jeep for a Jurassic Park calendar, or putting down carnivores and rescuing VIPs in the park with the chopper. My point is, the challenges were varied and tested your skills and ability with all the aspects of the gameplay, as limited as they were. And yes, true, you didn't earn anything from it, but the challenges were fun to do as they were interesting scenarios. This is what challenge mode in Jurassic World Evolution 2 should look like. Let's come up with some ideas. How about this? You're tasked with creating a 5-star park, but you're limited to a maximum number of dinosaurs. The issue here is that you have to choose between highly social animals or dangerous antisocial animals. Well, the antisocial ones come with a higher rating. Perhaps more difficult game modes will give you lower and lower dinosaur limits, or more dangerous weather, having large numbers of antisocial animals difficult. Or how about, in one area which is full of wild dinosaurs, you have to go around taking photographs for the media, but you must take photographs of particular behaviours. Harder difficulties would introduce more rare behaviours that you'd have to go and find, or give you time limits due to incoming storms. And after completing these challenges you earn dinosaur skins, but maybe unlock unique vehicle skins, building skins. I mean, we know we can customize the building, so give us some reward skins. Maybe for maximum difficulty, you earn a unique statue or decoration for your park. But how about this? There's a hidden challenge that's locked, and you don't ever know what it is until you succeed at all the other challenges. And the hidden challenge turns out to be a remake of Jurassic World from the film. The park is all damaged and destroyed with the escaped dinosaurs, and your final challenge is to repair the whole park, capture those dinosaurs and get the park running to profit again. And maybe as a reward for completing that final challenge, you get to play on the mostly pre-made Jurassic World map complete with its mosasaur enclosure. How cool would that have been in Jurassic World Evolution 1? Proper challenges with worthwhile rewards. That is what challenge mode should have been. Not the time-consuming, grindy, boring, dull, tedious, absolutely frustrating mess that we ended up with. It doesn't add anything to the game at all. I cannot understate how much I loathe this mode. How much time did Frontier waste on it? How much time was put into giving us something that we didn't need? We could have had all the time that they spent on challenge mode put into park decorations, or dinosaur animation, new island spaces, or better DLC. How much time was wasted here? I would love to know how much they spent on challenge mode, because I think it could have been better spent elsewhere. So, while considering the negatives of these game modes, a thought did actually occur to me. The whole thing could have been a lot worse. With the way modern games are these days, the repaired and expanded Sandbox mode and the challenging if annoying challenge mode could have been locked behind DLC paywalls. EA would have charged for it, probably as would Ubisoft and probably Activision. Hell, these companies could have probably charged you for each map being a Sandbox map. But we got both game modes, and the refinements for them, for 100% free. And even if it is tedious and irritating, I'm sure that some people find challenge mode worthwhile. Probably. I mean, I'm sure those people are clinically insane, but hey, more the power to you. It should also be noted that all the improvements to Sandbox mode could have been ignored, and we could have just ended up with the same map on Isla Nubla with none of the other maps. Sandbox mode is also nowadays very nice to play, especially on PC, where mods drastically improve the game in many ways. Although without mods, I'm not sure Sandbox mode as it is, with the limitations of the park building gameplay, would keep people coming back to the game. And challenge mode certainly doesn't. Again, like the gameplay in park building, these modes should and could have been better. Now in the next part of the review, I'm going to review all the DLCs available for the game and consider the value for money that the game offered with its DLC. But for now, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next part of this review.